All right, good morning. Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video, the winners and losers from preseason game number 3. And it was a good one. It was a really good one. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Go get the brisket. Get the brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. All right, let's talk winners and losers from preseason game number 3. What should we start with? Should we start with the winners or should we start with the losers? Should we go with the positive and come back with the negative, or open with the negative and finish strong with the positive? Why don't we do this? Why don't we start with the losers and then go to the winners? Because there's more in this particular game. That I thought there were more winners than losers. I don't, guys, full disclosure, I don't grade these preseason games as harshly as some people do. Why? Because I know what it is. You know, I've sat there in those preseason game situations and just know that it's not always perfect, you know. And a lot of times you're trying to serve multiple masters. You're trying to get a certain number of reps for a certain number of guys, and you know you want to make sure that you rep out certain situations, and it just doesn't always go according to plan. So anyway, let's start with the losers. We'll go to the winners. Okay, loser number 1, Braden Willis. Braden Willis in the first quarter missed a block on a run play, and it led to a tackle for loss for about a -6 yards for J.P. Mason. Willis is known as a receiver, not as a blocker, but he's got to do a better job blocking than he's done this summer. There's a chance he's going to get cut here, and if he does, it'll be because he just can't block at all. He just can't anchor. He's like a light wide receiver who just gets bounced around, and especially for year 2, very discouraging to see that. So that was a negative. Also early in the first half, Nick Sickell and Jalen Moore missed a combo block, and Matthew Butler knifed through and sacked Brock Purdy. I would put it probably more on Sickell than Moore. I heard the announcers put it more on Moore than on Sickell. Either way, Butler split the double and got to Purdy, and those guys didn't hold up. So that was a loser play there. Leonard Floyd, one of the losers. He was one of the winners and one of the losers. For his injury, he's one of the losers. He sprained his right knee on a very odd play where he just got his knee caught, and then big Malik Collins literally fell on top of his knee as the knee was at a side angle, and luckily didn't tear the knee, but clearly stretched the ligaments, and it's day-to-day for Leonard Floyd. Now, it's week to week for Yetur Gross-Matos, and he also is one of the losers because he hurt his knee in this game as well. Niners are depending on Yetur Gross-Matos to give them some really good defense opposite Nick Bosa on first and second down to free up Leonard Floyd to play on passing downs and key third downs. So the fact that Yetur went down with a knee injury and now he's week to week, so obviously it's a little bit more severe, he's one of the losers. Colton McKivitz got beat by Charles Snowden. Snowden, who I loved at Virginia, 6'7", real long, linear outside linebacker. Was he a defensive end? Was he an outside linebacker? What is he? Well, he's now, kind of evolved into pro defensive end, and he beat Colton McKivitz and tipped a Brock Purdy pass in the first half, and then he beat Brandon Parker like a drum and sacked Brandon Allen later in the game. So Snowden's talented, there's no question about it, but he doesn't have a lot of power to him, and he beat both McKivitz and Parker. One of the losers in this game was Brock Purdy. He threw an interception to Chris Smith II on a slant route to Deebo Samuel. Now, you can't really blame Purdy all that much. Why? Because it was a slant route that got tipped up into the air and just fell into the arms of Chris Smith, but obviously a pick is a major negative play. Another major negative play is giving up touchdowns, and Sam Womack gave up a touchdown catch to McAllister, who had a huge game for the Raiders, on a ball that he seemed to stop on. And I actually thought Womack played a phenomenal game. In fact, I have Womack making the 53-man roster largely because of how he played in this game. Ironic, because so many people saw that last play And when I put on my 53-man breakdown Womack on the roster, people were like, oh, no, Womack, he's totally off the roster. Just because you give up a high-profile touchdown in the final preseason game doesn't mean that every other good thing that you do gets wiped away. Sam Womack can play the boundary. He can play the slot. He's got long arms. I think you don't get... To me, Sam Womack is a significantly better prospect than Deshaun Jameson last summer. The Niners cut Deshaun Jameson at the cutdown, spent the rest of the year searching for him. Do not cut Sam Womack III at the cutdown and then spend the rest of the year signing veteran corners off the street. Go one short at another position. Go with that seventh corner. If you're sitting there debating, well, do we go with Rock Ya-Sin, the veteran? Do we go with Sam Womack? Go with both. Go with both. You're going to need both over the course of the long season in a pass-happy league. So, and then the last negative or the last loser in the thing, Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell just didn't get his hands turned in time, didn't get his head turned in time on a deep ball dime from Brandon Allen. I mean, Brandon Allen threw an absolute perfect dime down the seam to Ronnie Bell, who had to step on two defenders, put it on his hands, so much so that Bell didn't even see the ball, but it still hit him in the hands. Of course, he didn't catch it, so that was the downside. But yeah, Ronnie Bell, you don't get that many opportunities, especially down the field, and you got to make sure you turn your head. And in fact, when he flipped back to Brandon Allen said to him, hey, turn your head a little sooner. But that was a negative play from Ronnie Bell, who I think has had kind of an up and down preseason. He had an amazing block in that Saints game where he blocked the defender into the bench, into the Gatorade. But then as far as his ball skills, they have not been the same this summer as they were in past summers. I should say last summer. He's only been here for 2 years. All right, so those are the losers of preseason game number 3. How about the winners? Now, there were more winners than losers. Who were some of the winners? All right, let's run them down. Jair Brown continues to play at an awesome level. He had a forced fumble. He looked great. The 3 young corners, Renardo Green, Sam Womack, Darrell Luter, all looked fantastic. Luter had a pick. Womack and Renardo Green really made a number of plays on the football throughout the night. In the fourth quarter, Jalen Graham and Tatum Bethune, who both came on at the end, just kept making play after play after play in the fourth. I realize they're at the back end of this depth chart, but man, the 49ers, between Bethune and Graham, you get 2 really good young linebackers there. And if they cut these guys for Flanagan fouls, I think that's going to be a huge mistake. Another winner for the 49ers, I thought Brock Purdy, for all the Niner quarterbacks played well in this game, but Brock Purdy particularly was incredibly sharp. He had one fake where he faked the guy out with a throw and then ducked in underneath him and then made another throw. He showed really crisp, sharp footwork early. I thought Purdy looked really good. Dobbs has looked nothing but spectacular this preseason. He continued to look really good. Brandon Allen has played really, really good football. The first pass play where Brandon Allen stepped up into the pocket and, kind of layered a pass over a defender right to the 49er receiver. I mean, that was a Pro Bowl caliber play if I've ever seen one, and I love what I'm seeing from Allen this summer. And then Tanner Mordecai, my God, Tanner Mordecai had to throw once again, Tanner Mordecai, who has a cannon for an arm, had the throw of the game. He's running to his left. He reaches across the body and throws to Ronnie Bell on the run and hits him in stride, flat out dime. One of the more difficult throws you can make as a quarterback is moving to your left and reaching back and trying to throw right, and to get the right touch, the right timing, the right release point as you're rotating your body. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's one of the more difficult throws quarterbacks have to make. Mordecai made it look easy. And then he had the bomb at the end to Trent Taylor. I thought all 4 49er quarterbacks really played well. The story of the game J.P. Mason and the story of the preseason. J.P. Mason is going to play a much more significant role for the Niners this summer than last summer. That is totally clear. He was great again in this game. The other guy who was fantastic in this game was Patrick Taylor, the backup running back. He just is a very impressive back. I mean, if Taylor's on the practice squad, the Niners are stacked because, I mean, Patrick Taylor just looked really, really good. I mean, he was fantastic. I loved what I saw from Patrick Taylor. Jacob Cowing had another great game. It's clear that Cowing and Pearsall are going to give Purdy 2 more legitimate weapons. Isaac Guerrero had a 93-yard kickoff return. He looks like the ideal kickoff returner for with the new rules. The Niners have found 3 young offensive linemen in Dominic Pooney, Jarrett Kingston, and Drake Nugent. All 3 of these guys can play. I thought Malik Collins and Leonard Floyd both flashed. Collins against the run. Floyd had an early sack and looked really explosive. And then, the Niners, once again, played this preseason. We haven't seen Nick Bosa. We haven't seen Fred Warner. We haven't seen Mooney Ward. We haven't seen Talanoa Hufanga. None of those guys played in the preseason, and yet the 49ers still put out a pretty good defensive group on all 3 levels, including a really talented, deep Niners secondary. Really demonstrated throughout the 3 games in the summer. So there you go. The winners and losers from preseason game number 3. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.